Hey guys, today we're looking at the Giant Explorer E Plus 2. This bike comes feature complete with fenders, suspension fork, integrated lights, a nice rear rack. There's a lot to say about it. I've been covering a couple of the Giant and Liv products recently. Liv is sort of the female specific and Giant is unisex. In this case, we're looking at the high step frame, but they also have a mid step that's a little bit more approachable. One of the things I noticed right off the bat is if you get the mid step, you don't have bottle cage bosses. And in this case, I feel like they could have added another pair right here so you could carry a frame lock or something. But when you have a rear rack, there's still plenty of room to bring cargo. So as I mentioned, I covered the Roam E Plus, which is a little bit more affordable than this one. This one's $34.50 USD. So, you know, considering it's feature complete and it's got that nice integrated battery and a high quality Yamaha powered mid-drive, you know, that's worth considering. I look at this as sort of a cross-country, maybe light trail, but really a good commuter or trekking platform as well. It's got a 500 watt-hour battery pack, so it's not the highest in the world, but the Yamaha motors tend to be very efficient. So coming back to the frames, we're looking at the high step here, which is going to be a little bit stiffer, a little bit easier to lift at the center and hang on some car racks. I would always take the battery pack off when doing that. That battery weighs 9.5 pounds. It really surprised me, and the bike, as you see here with all of the accessories attached, it's like 58 pounds, 58 and a half. We're looking at the size medium here. The high step frame comes in 4 sizes. The mid step, that one comes in 3 sizes. So there's a lot to choose from here and a lot of adjustability. You could swivel the handlebar back just a little bit since it's a low rise, change the reach a bit. Got this nice ergonomic grips with these little extenders like bull horns, so you can angle those up or down and change hand positions if you are someone who's riding for longer periods. You know, you're going a bit farther. It's nice to change hand positions just to keep from getting tingly, and the ergonomic grips are going to help. I really want to compliment the saddle too. This is one of my favorites, the Selle Royale Vivo. It's just very, very comfortable, and of course when you've got some suspension, that's going to improve comfort as well. So this is a little bit basic. It's an SR Suntour coil fork, so it's spring, it's not air. I like that they've got these black stanchions because they blend in a little bit more. You'll notice a lot of black accents on this, including the spokes, the hubs, the battery cover, the handlebars, all that. It's all black, so not having silver there is a nice little treat. 63 millimeters of travel, so it's just going to take the edge off. And then we do have preload adjust under these caps. I found that it's kind of hard to get those off without cracking them, and once you do, you need to adjust them in tandem in order to preload the spring for your body weight, especially if you have some extra cargo and stuff. So I usually don't mess with this, but it doesn't have compression adjust, lockout. Sometimes you'll see the SR Suntour forks with like a preload on that side that's exposed. It's a little bit easier to get to, so I feel like this isn't the kind of fork I would mess with too much, but at least you've got suspension to complement the ergonomic grips. The saddle, 30.9 millimeters on that rigid seat post, so you could get a suspension post and get a even nicer feel for your back and your shoulders and your arms, but it is going to raise your minimum saddle height by about 3 inches, so keep that in mind. It's also going to add to the price of the bike. The tires are another area that you can adjust if you want to improve comfort a little bit. So these are the Crosscut Gravel 2. So they are gravel tires, which is perfect for this trail I'm on today. They're a little bit wider. They've got this nice tight tread pattern that's going to give you some traction. It also helps to dampen vibration, I've noticed. And with the tighter nubs, they're not going to make as much noise or be as inefficient as like a true mountain bike tire. So I do like these, and they offer a lot of adjustability in terms of tire pressure. So 50 to 70 PSI, that's great. You can lower the tire pressure a bit. I also want to call out just the size of these tires and wheels. These are 700 by 45C. So this is like a 28-inch wheel, and that gives you a lower attack angle that helps you smooth over cracks and bumps and obstacles. It's a nice setup here. They feel pretty good, and I love that they have reflective stripes built in. I've seen another tire from Giant. It was like the Crosscut Gravel, but it didn't have the reflective stripe like this, and I think that makes this bike so much more visible. It only comes in one color, and it's this, they call it metallic navy blue with black accents. It's very professional looking, but you know, if you're commuting and stuff, it's nice to be a bit more visible. So having integrated lights, having the tires that way, I appreciate that. Let's talk about the drivetrain a little bit here. So we've got a 42-tooth steel chainring with an aluminum alloy guard. The guard's going to protect your pants or your dress from touching the chain, getting snagged, getting greasy. And it seems like it's fairly tight. I don't know if that chain's really going to bounce out of place, but given that you have a suspension fork and gravel tires, you know, just kind of keep an eye on that. Sometimes I like to see a guide. But then again, we have a pretty nice derailleur back here. This is the Advent from microSHIFT, and it does have a clutch, so you can click this into the up position and it tightens it a bit so the chain's not going to bounce around and hopefully not derail. I don't see like a clear sticker slap guard or a neoprene guard here, so considering how nice the paint is, I might get like a clear piece of box tape or something and just put it on there, or get an aftermarket slap guard just to keep that chainstay looking really, really nice. So the cassette, it's a 9-speed, 11 to 42 teeth, pretty widespread. So this is going to be very capable for starting, for climbing, and then also hitting and maintaining at least 20 miles per hour, 32 kilometers per hour. This is a class 1 electric bike, so you're only going to get up to 20 miles per hour before the motor sort of eases off, but that makes it permissible on the highest number of paths and trails and stuff. I think that's pretty cool. It's a good setup. 142 millimeter hub spacing in the rear, 100 up front, very standard, 9 millimeter axles with quick release skewers on both, so you can do tire maintenance very easily if you need to. I didn't see like a puncture protection rating for these tires, but they are tubeless ready, which is kind of nice. That could shave off some weight, and it would allow you to have an even lower tire pressure if you wanted to do that. Great kickstand, comes with the bike. Some of the other Giant models don't, and it actually has a tool-free length adjustment, so you can really dial that in easily, make sure the bike is stood up properly. They're the quick releases that I was talking about. And this is the drive system. So it's the Giant SyncDrive Sport. And on the website, some of the stats were a little bit different. I actually saw it said SyncDrive Life, which maybe they changed the name or something, but this motor's pretty capable. It gives you a higher maximum RPM support, meaning you don't have to shift gears as frequently in order to hit the higher speed. And I like this kind of motor. It's a little bit more active. It's going to give you up to 70 Newton meters of support. It's rated at 250 watts nominal, but it probably offers quite a bit more of that peak as you dial up the assist level. Got a nice plastic protector along the bottom, and the motor, I believe this weighs about 7.4 pounds, 170 millimeter crank arms. These kind of basic pedals, they don't give you a whole lot of area, and they do offer good grip, like you can see those little nubs there, but they're steel around the outer edge, so if they get scratched up over time, if the bike tips over, I've seen these get bent in. Not my favorite. I would probably replace those, but they get the job done, you know, if you're just buying the bike and riding it out from the showroom. And then here is the charge port on the bike. So you can open that up like this. You can plug right in and charge the battery without having to take it off. One of the challenges though is if you see where it's located, it's right in the path of the crank arm. So I feel like the cord could get snagged and you just have to bend down to reach it. I prefer to have, you know, charging port up high, sort of where this key slot is, for example, and maybe on the other side of the bike. Yeah, this is not uncommon. I've seen Bosch systems and Brose systems with the charging port down here, and again, it's just a little bit dirty and stuff, and it's a bit of a reach. But at least they have this nice cap that has a leash. It's not going to get lost. This is the charger that I believe you would get. It's a 4 amp, which is above average. Normally you just get a 2 amp charger, unless you're dealing with a nicer company, Bosch, Giant. Fairly, you know, it's a little heavy, a couple pounds, and part of that is because you've got this dongle accessory here. Okay, and it's nice, they've got a little clip on it so you can clip it to the cable, try to keep everything all together. But this is required if you're charging the battery while off the bike. At the base of the battery, there's an interface that looks a lot like this. You just plug that in, and then this gets plugged into the end of the original cable. Now you can use just these two cables if you're charging the bike with the battery connected. In terms of the chargers and the interfaces, I feel like there's a little bit extra going on here. It could be tightened up a little bit, maybe refined. So let's talk a little bit about just the cockpit up here, and then the brakes. Here are the trigger shifters for the derailleur in the back. It's single shift, so you kind of click in one to go lower or higher. I did notice that you might end up with Shimano Alivio components on this bike. That's what the website says. So it's another one of those maybe supply chain challenges. I think the microSHIFT Advent is fine. You've got like a rubberized pad here. It feels nice. It's just single click, which might not be such a bad thing considering that this drive system doesn't have shift detection. Like Bosch is sort of the only one that does, outside of Bafang, which is like a physical shift detection sensor. You just want to ease off a little bit, especially with 70 Newton meters of torque and a higher performance motor. And that way you don't break the chain or start to bend the teeth and just prematurely wear out the derailleur. This is Giant. They're one of the world's biggest bicycle manufacturers. It's like Trek, Giant, and Specialized. I think they give you like a 14-day trial. They'll even deliver it in some places. But you're predominantly going to a shop, so they'll help you get fitted. Hopefully they have multiple frame sizes you can try. Maybe they help you upgrade those pedals or something like that, and I think that's part of what you're paying for, and it's good to take advantage of that. I think it helps the bike last longer and be more enjoyable. So back up here to the cockpit, we have Tektro hydraulic brakes. These are, 2-3 finger levers. They offer adjustable reach, so if you have a smaller size frame, you could bring these in a little bit. You don't have to reach as far, especially if you're wearing gloves or something. I think they do a great job. On the website, it said 180 by 160, but when I look at the frame, these are both 180 millimeter rotors, and that's great. It just gives you a better mechanical advantage, giving you control over the larger wheel and the heavier bike, and there's just more surface area, so they're gonna cool quickly. These are standard dual piston calipers, kind of checks the box, but I was happy to see 180 millimeters on both of those. I do want to talk a little bit about the battery here. I think the weight distribution is really good, like the motor's right there, the battery's right there. To get this thing off, you just insert the key like this, turn to the left a little bit, and it drops out into the first position. And then there's a little silver button in there you press, and then you can take this off very carefully, but you'll notice it's pretty tight here, especially with the fender and stuff. So yeah, there's not a whole lot of room to work with. You might turn the wheel and just be careful as you do that. Okay, so the battery itself, this has an aluminum alloy casing. It seems really well made, and it's got like a metal interface over here for clipping to the bike. It feels very secure. So this is 9.5 pounds. By comparison, the Bosch Power Tube 500, which is like the same, capacity, it weighs 6.7 pounds. So we're talking 2.5, 3 pounds extra for the same energy. And I think that's because Giant must be using less energy dense cells, which tend to be more affordable, but it still takes up a lot of space and stuff. So those are some of the trade-offs. The exact rating here is 36 volt, 13.4 amp hours, 496 watt hours. They do have a little light up charge level indicator on the other side, and then this black plastic shield. Okay, when you're ready to power the bike on, you've got this nice, very easy to reach, easy to read button pad here. Just hold the power button for a second. The display comes to life very quickly. And it's a fairly good size. It's not removable, but it does swivel forward and back to reduce glare. Lots of good readouts here, but before we get to this, let's look at the buttons. We have plus, minus, SA, which is Smart Assist. That's the middle one. It's very dynamic. It's sort of set it and forget it. If you're working harder, the bike is gonna notice, and if you're easing off a bit, it's gonna become more efficient. I did wanna mention, this motor, it's measuring your rear wheel speed. It's like a magnet right here, and I love that they've mounted that to the hub instead of having a spoke magnet on like they do on some of the other cheaper bikes, because then you don't have a reader and stuff exposed. So this is a nice setup. Rear wheel speed, pedal cadence, pedal torque. It also has a slope detection and accelerometer in there, so it's very dynamic, and I've got to say it's very peppy and very satisfying to use. So Smart Assist, let's pretend we click the minus and we go down to like the lowest level of assist, or even off, in which case we're just a heavy bike with lights. And anytime you want, you press Smart Assist and it takes you right back to the middle, which is great. And we have a dedicated lights button, so it'd hold that down for a couple seconds. We'll see the headlight icon disappear, and then our lights won't be shining. I like to have the lights on though, so I'm gonna pull that back up. I also noticed if you just tap that button, the brightness of the display changes. And that is really handy, because sometimes you're riding at night and you just don't want to, ruin your night vision. So having it's kind of a loaded button here, and it's dedicated. That was really cool to see. Then we have eye, and that's going to change some of the readouts we'll go through in a minute, and walk mode. And if you press walk mode, you get a little dance here of the LEDs, and you hold plus, and then the bike starts going. It's pretty zippy. I don't want to do it and disturb how the bike's positioned right now. I've noticed that maybe it depends on the gear you're in, but sometimes I do walk mode, and it's like it really goes for it when you first start. So keep that in mind, especially if the bike is loaded. This rear rack, by the way, it's rated up to 25 kilograms. That's 55 pounds. It's got pannier hanger and kind of a blocker system going on. It's bolt-on, so you could take that off if you wanted, but it also supports the fender. So keep that in mind. If you took that off, you might be losing the rear fender as well. Comes with this little adjustable bungee cord, and it's MIK compatible for some of these click-on accessories. I think that's pretty great, whether you're doing a child seat or some of those bags. It's a nice setup, and it also supports the rear light. So I might as well just show you. You know, it's a 2 LED light, AXA blue line in the rear, and up front we have a blue line 30. This is 30 lux. It's aimable, kind of point it down if you want. It's got the side windows, so lots of visibility, but it is mounted to the arch of the suspension. So that's unsprung, meaning it's going to bounce all around if you're on rough terrain, and then your light beam's going to bounce, and then this light can start to, you know, what I'm saying is make sure it doesn't get too loose. So there we go. Coming back to the display and everything, I want to walk you through all the readouts because it's pretty nice. We have battery percentage, which is much more precise than just like the infographic with 5 dots or something. And then we have current speed. We're in kilometers per hour right now. Range and odometer are kind of the default, but we have other menus here. And remember that I button I was telling you about? If we press that, it's going to change. Now I do have to say it's a little bit of a reach, and this button, it's not like the easiest to press. So then we go to distance and trip, and then average speed and max speed, cadence, so pedal cadence, and range. And then it kind of circles back around to range and odometer. Range is really cool because it dynamically updates as you change assist levels. So we're on Smart Assist right now. It estimates 93 kilometers of range, but if I take it down to Eco, we're gonna see 120 kilometers. And so the assist levels, they like disrupt whatever screen you're on to momentarily show you. And they're also color coded. So notice that this Eco and Tour are green, and then as soon as we go up to active, it turns yellow, and then sport and power are kind of like dark orange and then red. So they're trying to do the thing where, you know, even if you can't read the display, if you could just get a little bit of a color, you'll sort of know what mode you're in. You don't have to get too focused. And this tour wouldn't be complete without showing you that they have a USB-C charging port built into the side of the display, and that's meant to use with their ride control app, which is a pretty cool smartphone app. It actually lets you plan rides with like a map system. It lets you update your assist levels so you can determine like how much power each one of them gives you. You can kind of ease them off or go for, you know, really high powered. This motor system is designed to give you up to 350% feedback and that 70 Newton meters of torque, compared to like the SyncDrive Core that I saw on the Giant Roam E+, that's in a separate review. That one only got 50 Newton meters of torque and 300%. So again, this is noticeably peppier is how I would describe it. And it's a good thing to have a higher capacity battery to support that extra juice that you're squeezing out as you ride this thing. So I think that's it. It's nice to see that everything's so reachable and readable. I think this is a nice display. I kind of wish I could take it off, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it's fairly well protected here. It's definitely a nicer bike with internally routed cables and all the fenders and stuff. 60 millimeters on these plastic fenders, by the way. Let's just go for a ride. Okay, guys, we're just gonna stow the kickstand and pedal around in Smart Assist. Wow, it's keeping up at that higher pedal rate that I was talking about, which means I don't have to shift gears in order to go fairly fast. Now, if you want to get that full speed, it is a good idea to, you know, start shifting gears and get a more comfortable cadence. Very comfortable, very stable. You know, it's working as expected, and I'm a big fan of suspension. They've done a good job balancing a lightweight tire that's kind of nimble, but giving you the larger diameter for that lower attack angle. It works great. The bike feels fairly agile. Pretty comfortable. This is the right frame size for me, size medium. I got the different hand positions. I would probably angle these up a little bit more. This is just sort of how it was set up from the shop. I don't know if they just forgot to install it or if it doesn't include a bell, but that's something I miss that I would probably be adding at the shop. Ah, yeah, nice. Thank you so much. So we were doing some fun rides and stuff. My friend Nick and Clara are here, and you guys have ridden quite a few electric bikes, and then you tried this one. What bikes have you ridden, Nick?
So we tried the Specialized Vado.
Yeah.
Right, and then the Trek Verve.
The Verve Plus, yeah.
Verve Plus. That was today, and then I think we also tried the Trek. Did we try a Trek Alon 2 weeks ago? So I don't remember. How
You've been trying so many bikes. I thought that was really fun to hear you talking earlier. You're riding like quite a ways for commuting?
Yeah. So my commute is like 35 kilometers one way.
Wow.
What is that, like 21 miles?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
What did you like about this one? Because you said you kind of enjoyed it.
I do like to kind of switch hand positions.
Yeah.
And this bike is like the only one that comes with little horns.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Because all the other bikes that we tried, they all just have the flat bar.
We tried this one actually first.
Yeah.
And now we tried all the other ones, and I really like the auto set.
Oh yeah.
That you can put it to auto, and the bike kind of decides for you what's the best setting. Because we tried today other ones that didn't have auto, right? None of them have auto.
No.
So me just trying, I just felt like I'm not doing the right setting, and this one just does it for me, which felt pretty sweet.
It was like smart assist.
The bike is smarter than me.
That's cool.
Just say that.
And it starts in that mode, so that's kind of convenient. You don't have to press a bunch of buttons. And the biggest question I originally had for Clara, it's like, this is a high step and this is the medium.
Yeah.
And you seem like you were able to get on it and ride it just fine.
Yeah, I was actually surprised because on the website of Giant, it says for my height I should have the small frame, but the medium frame seems to work just fine.
Yeah. You also said like climbing that hill was fun.
Yes, it's a lot of fun.
Gave you the power you needed.
Right. And again, the auto mode just kind of pushes you up almost, which feels amazing.
Yeah, it's a cool bike. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. It's always fun to hear. Any other perspectives before we?
So far, this bike, I'd say, felt the most high tech out of the ones that we tried.
Oh yeah, that was something else you said.
No, this one like has the nicest screen.
Yeah.
The auto mode. None of the other ones have it.
Yes.
So I found that like, especially in hilly terrain, like if you're riding Verve, like I was switching gears and like modes. Yeah. Just constantly on both. Which I'm sure like as I ride more, like I'll just get used to it, or just throw it into the max and just forget about it. But
having auto mode and forget about it.
Having auto mode, and forget about it and just tweak the gears is kind of that's how biking works.
Good job. Nice and smooth. Definitely noticed the extra power and just the comfort and the geometry on this bike. It's a good one. I've measured all the specs and everything back at ElectricBikeReview.com, along with photos and comparison tools. So maybe you're considering the Giant Roam E+. Maybe you don't need the fenders and lights and you're trying to save some money. There's also forums there, so you could ask people what accessories have worked well for them and how they like Giant in general. My goal is to help you and just have fun out here. This review is completely free. I want to thank the Giant Vancouver store for loaning me a demo bike here. I love you guys, ride safe, and we'll see you next time.